Hello children, in this video we will be learning to factorize using difference of two squares. This is a very specific method that we can use to factorize certain types of expressions. We can use this method if an expression or an equation is in the form of a squared minus b squared. For example, let's say we have x squared minus 4 and 9 minus x squared. These are few of the examples that we can use to factorize using difference of two squares. The method to factorize using difference of two squares is we have to first of all take square root of each of these terms. What is the square root of a squared? The square root of a squared is just a. What is the square root of b squared? Square root of b squared is b. Why? Because square root and square symbol cancels out. So what's remaining here is only b. After this, we have to separate these terms into two pairs of brackets. Like this. And then we have to put a and b within each of the brackets. A and b here and a and b here as well. After that, we have to put plus in one bracket and a minus symbol in the other bracket. And this is the factorization of this expression. Let's move on to the next example. Here we have x squared minus 4. What should we do? We should take square root of each of the terms. Square root of x squared and square root of 4. What is the square root of x squared? Square root and square cancels out. So what's remaining? It's just x. What about the square root of 4? Square root of 4 is 2 because 2 squared is equal to 4. After that, we should put x and 2 within two pairs of brackets. X here, 2 here, again x and 2. The next step, we have to put plus within one pair of brackets and minus within the other pair of brackets. Now let's see if the factorized expression that we got, which is x plus 2 multiplied by x minus 2, is equal to, when expanded, will be equal to x squared minus 4. How can we expand this? We have to multiply x here by the x here, which will give us x squared, and then the x here by the minus 2, which will give us minus 2x. After that, we have to multiply 2 by x here, which will give us plus 2x, and then 2 multiplied by minus 2. 2 multiplied by minus 2 is minus 4. Now when simplifying the expression, we can see that here there's a minus 2x and here there's a plus 2x. Minus 2x plus 2x, it's just 0. So we can just cancel this out. So what will be remaining here? X squared minus 4. Can you see that the expression that we got here is similar to the expression that we got here? That means the method difference of two squares works for these types of equations. Let's move on to a third example, 9 minus x squared. What should we do? We have to take square root of each of the terms. Square root of 9 and square root of x squared. How can we simplify this? What is the square root of 9? It's 3 because 3 squared is 9. What is the square root of x squared? Here square root and square cancels out. It's just x. After that, what should we do? We should put two pairs of brackets like this. Put both the terms in each of the brackets like this. 3x, 3x, and then after that plus in one pair of brackets and minus in the other pair of brackets. The answer is simple as that. Let's take our next set of examples. 9x squared minus 4, 64x squared minus 49, and 25x squared minus 144. Now pause the video and see if you can solve these expressions by factorizing using difference of two squares. Now how can we factorize these expressions? First of all, we have to take square root of each of the terms. Here in the first example, we have to find the square root of 9x squared and the square root of 4. How can we find the square root of 9x squared? The square root of 9x squared we can expand here. It is equal to square root of 9 multiplied by square root of x squared. Now we can just simplify here. What is the square root of 9? It's 3. And what is the square root of x squared? We can cancel out square root and square signs here. It's just 3x. What is the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is 2. After this, we can put two pairs of brackets here. and then put each of the terms in each of the brackets. 3x, 2, 3x, 2. And then what should we do after that? We should put a plus sign here and a minus sign here. That's the answer. After that we have 64x squared minus 49. Take the square root of 64x squared and square root of 49. How to find the square root of 64x squared? How can we separate this part? Square root of 64 and square root of x squared. What is the square root of 64? 8. And what is the square root of x squared? It's x. And here also, what is the square root of 49? The square root of 49 is 7. Why? Because 7 squared is 49. After that, we should put two pairs of brackets like this, and then put each of the terms into each of the brackets. 8x, 7, 8x, 7. After that, plus in one pair of brackets and minus in the other pair of brackets. Now here we have 25x squared minus 144. How can we factorize this expression? First of all, take the square root of each of the terms. Square root of 25x squared and square root of 144. Now a simple method to get the square root of 25x squared or any other term like this. Take the square root of 25 and the square root of x squared. What is the square root of 25? It's just 5. And what is the square root of x squared? It's x. Square root of 25x squared is 5x. And in the second part, square root of 144, it's 12. Because 12 squared is 144. After that, it is very simple. We have to separate this into two pairs of brackets. Put each of the terms, 5x, 12, 5x, 12. And then after that, put plus in one pair of brackets and minus within the other pair of brackets. That's our final answer. Let's move on to our next set of examples. 3x to the power 3 minus 27x. Next one is 4a to the power 3b minus 16ab to the power 3. And the third example, 9x to the power 4 minus 36x squared y squared. Pause the video and try your best to solve these questions by thinking. Now, as you can see, none of these expressions are in the form where we can factorize using difference of two squares. But this method is hidden in disguise. We just have to work out and reveal this method. If we move on to the first example, we can see that 3 and x are common to both of these terms. So what can we do? We can take 3x out of this expression as a common factor. We can take 3x out. What will be remaining within the brackets? 3x to the power 3 divided by 3x. It's just x squared. Minus 27x divided by 3x. It's minus 9. Now can you see that this expression we can factorize using difference of two squares. We just have to do one extra step to find the method to do it. Now the process is simple. Here we have to take square root of x squared and square root of 9. What is the square root of x squared? It's x. Square root of 9 is 3. And then after that we have to separate into two pairs of brackets. x3, x3. And then put a plus in one pair of brackets and a minus in the other pair of brackets. And also we have to take this 3x down because it's the common factor. And that's the final answer. Let's move on to our second example. We can see that here 4 is common, a is common, and also b is common. We can take 4ab out as a common factor. 4ab. So what's remaining within the brackets? 4a to the power 3b divided by 4ab. Here 4 and 4 cancels out. Here b and b cancels out. A to the power 3 divided by a. It's just a squared. And then here 16ab to the power 3 divided by 4ab. Here a and a directly cancels out. 4 and 16 we can simplify. 1 and 4 here. Because 16 divided by 4 is 4. B to the power 3 divided by b is b squared. So what's remaining? 4b squared minus 4b squared. Again, this is in a form we can factorize using difference of two squares. What should we do? We should take square root of a squared and then square root of 4b squared. What is the square root of a squared? It's a. And the square root of 4b squared, how can we find? Take the square root of 4, which is 2. Square root of b squared, it's b. Then we can put two pairs of brackets here. A, 2b, a, 2b, plus, minus. And also take this 4ab down. That's our final answer. Let's move on to our third example of this type. Try to identify the common factors here. The common factors here are 9 and x squared. 36 is divisible by 9. 36 divided by 9 is 4. So 9 is also a common factor. Now we can take 9x squared out as a common factor. What's remaining within the brackets? 9x to the power 4 divided by 9x squared. It's just x squared minus 36x squared y squared divided by 9x squared. Here x squared and x squared cancels out. 36 divided by 9 is 4. What's remaining here? 4y squared. After that we can factorize using difference of two squares. What should we do? We should take square root of x squared and square root of 4y squared. What is the square root of x squared? It's x. 4y squared, how can we take the square root? Take square root of 4, which is 2. Square root of y squared is y. And in order to simplify this, 9x squared outside the brackets. And then x, 2y, x, 2y. And plus and minus. That's the final answer. Let's take two more examples. 2x plus 3 squared minus 4x minus 5 squared. And also 3x plus 7 squared minus 6x minus 5 squared. Have a shot at these two examples here. Here we can see that both of these expressions are in the form of a squared minus b squared. Here in the first example, 2x plus 3 is a and 4x minus 5 is b. So we can directly apply difference of two squares to both of these expressions. What should we do? We should take square root of both the terms in the expression. Square root of 2x plus 3 squared and square root of 4x minus 5 squared. The square root symbol and square symbols cancel out to give us 2x plus 3 and 4x minus 5. After that we should organize them into brackets. 2x plus 3, 4x minus 5 within one pair of brackets, and again 2x plus 3, 4x minus 5. Here in one of the brackets we should put plus, and then in the other bracket we should put minus. But remember, since there's a minus sign in front of 4x minus 5, we should put an additional pair of brackets because it's a two-term expression. Now we can simplify the expression here. We can add the likely terms together. 2x and 4x, which is 6x. 3 minus 5, it's minus 2. And in this part we have to simplify this. 2x plus 3, we have to multiply 4x minus 5 by minus 1. 4x multiplied by minus 1 is minus 4x. Minus 5 multiplied by minus 1 is plus 5. Now again we can simplify this part. 6x minus 2. And here 2x minus 4x is minus 2x plus 3 plus 5 is plus 8. Now we can see that in each of these brackets there's a common factor. There's a common factor. What is it? 2. We have to factorize each of those brackets individually. How can we do that? In 6x minus 2, we can take 2 out of the expression. What's remaining inside? 3x minus 1. And then also minus 2x. We can take minus 2 out. What's remaining within the brackets? X minus 4. So we can rewrite this expression as 2 multiplied by 3x minus 1 multiplied by minus 2 x minus 4. And we can write a final fully simplified expression. How can we do that? We can here multiply 2 and minus 2. It will be equal to minus 4 and then 3x minus 1, x minus 4. That's our final answer. Let's move on to our next example. Again, this is in the form where we can factorize using difference of two squares. We have to take square root of 3x plus 7 squared and then also 6x minus 5 squared. We can cancel out square root and squared signs in both of them. So what will we have? 3x plus 7 and 6x minus 5. After that, we can separate into two brackets. 3x plus 7, 6x minus 5. Again 3x plus 7, 6x minus 5. Plus in one pair of brackets and minus in the other pair of brackets. But remember, when we are putting minus in the other pair of brackets, we should put a square bracket here as well. Why? Because this minus term is common to both 6x and minus 5. If we don't put the square brackets, we would not multiply minus 5 by the minus sign. So that's an important point. Always put a square brackets in the second part of the second expression. Now we can simplify this expression. Here 3x and 6x we can add, which will give us 9x, and here 7 minus 5, it's plus 2. And here we can simplify the second pair of brackets. 3x plus 7 minus, we have to multiply 6x and minus 5 by both minus 1. This is minus 6x. Minus 1 times minus 5 is plus 5. Now we can simplify the second pair of brackets as well. 3x minus 6x is minus 3x. And 7 plus 5 is plus 12. And here we have 9x plus 2. Now can you see in the second pair of brackets, minus 3 is common to both minus 3x and plus 12. We can factorize that part. How? Minus 3x plus 12. When factorize, what will be equal to? We can take minus 3 out. What will be remaining inside the brackets? X minus 4. So we can rewrite that part here. 9x plus 2 as it is. And we can take minus 3 out of the brackets. What will be remaining within the brackets? X minus 4. We can further simplify this part. 9x plus 2, x minus 4, and minus 3 will be laying outside the brackets. That's our final answer. Let's move on to our final set of examples. M squared minus 1 squared minus 16m to the power 4 and 2m to the power 3 minus 5 squared minus 16m to the power 6. Solve these questions before I solve them. Now we can see here that both of these expressions are in a form we can use difference of two squares. Even 16m to the power 4 and 16m to the power 6 can also be considered as squares. Because if we take the square root of these two terms, 16m to the power 4, we can take square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4. And the square root of m to the power 4. Now the square root we can write as a power form. M to the power 4 to the power 1/2. And when we simplify it, we can cancel out this 2 and 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. It is m squared. So square root of 16m to the power 4 is 4m squared. Here also square root of 16m to the power 6. We can take square root of 16, which is 4, and then square root of m to the power 6. We can rewrite the square root as to the power of half and cancel out 2 and 6. 1 and 6 divided by 2 is 3, which is m to the power 3. And also we can take this 4 down, 4m to the power 3. If you figured that out, the rest of the solutions are very simple. What we have to do, we have to take square root of both these terms in the expression. What is the square root of m squared minus 1? It is just m squared minus 1. And as we discussed, the square root of 16m to the power 4 is 4m squared. After that, we can put them within two pairs of brackets. M squared minus 1, 4m squared, m squared minus 1, and 4m squared. Here plus and here minus. Now we can simplify this expression. We can add up m squared and 4m squared. which is 5m squared minus 1, and then the other pair of brackets, here m squared minus 4m squared. It gives us minus 3m squared minus 1. That's our final answer. Let's move on to our final example in this lesson. 2m to the power 3 minus 5 squared minus 16m to the power 6. We have to take the square root of each of these terms. What is the square root of 2m to the power 3 minus 5 squared? We just have to cancel out the square and square root signs. It will give us 2m to the power 3 minus 5. And then, as we have discussed previously, the square root of 16m to the power 6 is 4m to the power 3. Now we can separate them into two pairs of brackets, 2m to the power 3 minus 5 and 4m to the power 3, 2m to the power 3 minus 5 and 4m to the power 3, and put plus in one pair of brackets and minus in the other pair of brackets. Now we can simplify this expression here. 2m to the power 3 and 4m to the power 3 will be added up to get 6m to the power 3 minus 5, and then the other pair of brackets, 2m to the power 3 minus 4m to the power 3, it's minus 2m to the power 3 minus 5. That's the final answer. So children, that's the end of today's video. I hope you understood today's lesson. If you have any questions, post them down in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe to my channel for more maths, physics and chemistry lessons. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.